Awesome, awesome. Doing very well. And what about yourself?
I am on cloud nine here. Even though we're talking about some heavy stuff, I am talking with some of the smartest people that I just learn. I'm hired to show up and learn from everyone. So it's kind of the best job.
No, I'm super excited for our chat. I had the pleasure of listening in yesterday and then today, and you had such amazing lineup of speakers. I think I caught the tail end of was it Lexi B, and she's
Oh
definitely
yeah.
on fire. So can't wait to
Oh
dive
yeah.
into the conversation.
Big fan of Lexi B. Big fan. And I just heard that we have a shared connection that we are both part of Start Out.
Awesome, that is correct. No, Start
Yeah.
Out is an amazing organization. I got connected with them last year in the part of the mentorship program. So I
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
speak
me
highly enough
too.
about their program.
Yeah, I first got to interview someone from Start Out here, and then like 3 or 4 years ago, and then when I started my own thing, someone brought them back into my zeitgeist, and they have been instrumental to building my new stuff. So shout out to Start Out. Yeah. So
Amazing
let's
organization.
Yeah, they're just the best. And I mean, talk about community building, right? Like they connect people. So I would love to hear about what you're up to with you. You have your new venture, but I'd also love to hear about a little bit more about you, where you come from, and what got you into this space that you're working in now.
Absolutely. So again, thanks for having me today. I'm Laneisha. I'm born and raised in the sunshine state of Florida. I won't talk about sun too much because I hear you're in New York and you may have some snow on the way.
Yep.
Sorry about that.
That's
But
okay. I'm
I'm
used to it.
currently in Atlanta, Georgia. We had some snow a couple weeks ago, so I feel
Yeah.
you there.
Yeah.
Um, I am one of two co-founders of ReviewTailor, which, as you mentioned, is an HR tech startup where we make performance reviews simple,
Mm,
automated, and collaborative. So just think no more dreaded, time-consuming review cycles. Prior to launching ReviewTailor, I spent the last 13 years functioning in a corporate leadership capacity. So everything from the biopharmaceutical, government, and healthcare sectors. Super passionate about leveraging technology to break down workplace barriers, to
mm,
drive career advancement, and to really contribute to closing the wealth gap. I get asked a lot, how did you transition from the corporate space into HR technology? And, leadership was something I never set out to do.
mm,
There's a quote that I love that says, "You don't choose your passions choose you." And that
mm,
was definitely the case. So for me, I started out in an individual contributor role where I had no direct employees. However, I was indirectly responsible for just mentoring and developing others, and I really love that. Then
mm,
that segued into an entry-level manager position, then a regional manager position with oversight of leaders in multiple locations. And then that led to a director position responsible for managers of managers. So as you can imagine, over those 13 years, I've seen it all, I've heard it all, and I've had countless conversations with leaders, employees, and HR team members just around performance management. So some of those conversations would be, why is my performance review not reflective of the work I've done?
mm.
How can I advance when I don't have a clear idea of what's expected of me? And then, I don't have time to remember what my employees did last year. Can I just give them all average ratings and call it a day? And then better yet, can I just copy and paste the same feedback for all of my employees?
Yeah.
Can I do that, Hunter?
Sounds like a really bad idea.
Yeah, so these are all real conversations that took place. And
Yeah.
so at the end of 2022, my co-founder, who has over a decade of experience in HR, we're in the
Yeah.
middle of another performance review season, exchanging experiences. And I'll say it was a very heated conversation. And it was in that moment that we said, let's do something to solve for these reoccurring pain points. Because
Mm,
what we know is that over 60% of organizations still connect performance with compensation. So just one unfair performance review has the potential to negatively impact someone's generational wealth over time. So this one was personal for us.
Yeah, it's like a credit report, you get like a ding on your credit report and then you're like set back for years.
That's a very nice analogy.
So I'm curious, what are some of the pain points that you've been able to solve with ReviewTailor?
Yeah, so I'll say that, traditional performance management systems today have several gaps. We could be here all day, but I'll spare you and probably focus on two of those. The first, traditional performance management systems are, let's just be honest, time consuming. So on average, managers spend 210 hours a year on performance management, but still 90% of performance reviews are ineffective. And then 9 out of 10 HR professionals are just unhappy with their current system.
Mm.
So today, HR teams and leaders are spending excess time on manual documentation, navigating disconnected systems, which makes the process inefficient. And then this leads to, unfortunately, bias-driven shortcuts. So ways that organizations can address this, in ways that we're addressing this as well at ReviewTailor, is that we have an easy to use all-in-one solution where your key tasks such as goals and OKRs, feedback, one-on-one meetings are all centralized. Another way to address this is by embedding software that prioritizes automation to minimize the amount of time spent on those administrative or repetitive tasks. And so
Speaking my love
now,
language right
that's
now.
right, leverage that automation. And so then you're able to redirect that excess time that you're saving to true talent development efforts. I'll share a second one and then we'll move on. Traditional performance management systems can also be subjective and biased. I have to be honest there. Some common biases that creep into the review process are affinity bias, for example, which is where you're well liked because maybe you share similar interests or background with your leader. And then that influences the overall rating, even if you may be underperforming. Another is recency bias. So a few years ago, I had a performance review that was based on recency bias, which is where my review was based on the most recent events. Had I not been keeping track of my own performance highlights via a very simple spreadsheet, I
Yep.
would not have been able to successfully challenge that review, which led to a higher rating and ultimately a higher compensation.
Hmm.
So ways that organizations can address this is to leverage tools, like a ReviewTailor that promotes inclusive behaviors. It makes real-time insights available to not only HR, but also makes it available to employees so that they're able to just gauge how they're performing throughout the
Hmm.
year instead of having to, wait until the end of the year to have a good surprise, right?
Right.
And then as I mentioned, leveraging that AI technology to make it easy for leaders and employees to draft their performance narratives backed by more objective data, which then reduces bias in the process.
I love that. Yeah, the recency bias is real. I mean, you experienced it firsthand, and that can be on both sides because that can be from management, but it can also be from within, right? Because I can be like, oh, I messed up this thing this week and I suck. And it's like, no, look at all this stuff that you did like all quarter, all year. It was really good.
That's right. No, sometimes if it's not written down and you can't go back and reference it, to your point, as humans, we have the tendency to just refer to that last mess up that we did and let that define our whole year when it's like, no, you've actually done some amazing things and you had one, slip up in the year. So,
Yeah.
no one's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, exactly. That's how we learn, right? Shouldn't
That's
be
right.
penalized for making mistakes. It's how we grow. So I'd love to hear a bit about I love the transparency that it's two ways that the individual has access to this information so they can check in, and then also management is adding to it, HR is adding to it. How does it all connect together? Like all these different data points from all of these different places, how does it get organized so that everyone's on the same page? Because I know we can just say like AI tech, that's kind of like, can sound a little magical sometimes. So I'm curious,
Right.
just like take us under the hood a little bit.
Yeah. So good point about transparency. So transparency and access to clear performance data empowers employees by giving them the tools to take control of their own career growth. That's what we're all about here. So when employees can see real-time feedback, track their progress against their company's goals, and then understand how they're being evaluated, they can make informed decisions about their development and then better advocate for promotions and new opportunities. And so actually last year, we launched a free tool specifically for individuals to use, no matter if their company is a ReviewTailor customer or not. And
Hmm.
so when most individuals sign up, they use their personal email addresses. This free tool promotes ownership of your personal growth. And so employees now have access to their own personal performance data. Then they can identify their strengths and areas for improvement instead of waiting on, formal reviews. And with the tool, you're able to generate your own performance review at any point in time, which many use to communicate monthly or quarterly updates to their stakeholders, which can then be leveraged for future promotion or new opportunities. So we're taking all those data points collected throughout the year from your goals and feedback that is shared, and then leveraging AI technology on the back end to be able to generate that review. That way you're not starting from a blank slate.
Right. Oh, I love that. And how are, so what now we have more data points, more accurate, holistic view of performance reporting. How does all of this data and this reporting promote inclusivity and advancement in the workplace?
Absolutely. So one of the things we heard in the initial phases when we were just doing a lot of customer discovery process is that oftentimes, just looking at it from the employee perspective, they would show up to their performance evaluation conversations expecting their leader to tell them how they perform.
Mm,
When the outcome wasn't as they assumed it should be, so maybe they were rated lower than what they expected, then that's where the friction arises. But when I would
hmm.
have these conversations, those individuals didn't have the leverage to be able to support the disconnect in their ratings there. So with our solution, by providing employees a space to capture their achievements throughout the year, we're now involving them in the process. So it's no longer viewed as one-sided, making it a very inclusive process. That way, at any point in time, they can go back and reference their contributions, their goals, their updates, and contributions to their company's overall goals to be able to advocate for themselves and to be able to show up in those performance discussions, having that particular leverage. And what we see a lot of folks use that information for, even in our free tool that they can use on a personal basis, so outside of the organization, is they take that and use it to make updates to their resumes, prepare for interviews, or use it as leverage to be able to go into a conversation about a promotion or a compensation increase.
Mm, I love that. What are some tools or aspects of what you're working on that are really exciting to you right now? And what's on the roadmap if you are willing to share about things that maybe are in development that are exciting to you?
No, absolutely. So ReviewTailor's AI-powered technology is designed to, as I mentioned, simplify, automate, and really personalize performance reviews to create a more inclusive experience. So coming from the corporate world where I had to write reviews for multiple team members, I was super excited about our launch of those AI-powered reviews because we're now able to take something that would normally take hours to complete down to literally seconds. So I don't know about you, Hunter, but there are two things that get me excited. Something that's going to save me time and something
Mm-hmm.
that's going to save me money. And we're doing both. So with the click of a button, we automatically summarize that progress using the goal data, the employee and manager feedback, ensuring now that those reviews are supported by more objective data instead of
Mm,
someone's personal perception. So that's one feature super excited about. On the horizon, we have some features in the work under the gamification umbrella. one of the things we hear is that, your tool is only as good as the utilization, right? We can think our
Yep.
software is the best thing out there, but if it's not being utilized, then how is it benefiting the organization? And
Right.
so there's a lot of tools that are in place in organizations, but they're just not getting that utilization. And so we're adding on some gamification components, for example, streaks and badges that reward employees based on their contributions, based on those behaviors of keeping track of those performance highlights and feedback conversations throughout the year, just to make
Yeah.
it a part of their everyday, year-round behaviors instead of what it is today, which is I pull this thing out at the end of the year when it's time for my performance review.
Yeah, it's like
So
doing your
super excited.
taxes or something.
That's right. You have the best analogies. It's just like doing taxes for sure. So gamification is definitely something we're excited about.
I love that idea because if you're doing streaks and badges, and then internally teams could decide, like, oh, this adds to your home office pool fund or whatever, or you get whatever. It could like turn into like cash and prizes at the workplace for like showing up and just putting in the extra effort.
That's right. No, the goal is to be able to connect it to someone's existing rewards and recognition program for sure.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I love that. So, as someone passionate about breaking barriers and closing the wealth gap, is there any advice you have for leaders looking to foster more in equitable, inclusive environments and empower their teams to break those barriers?
That's a very good question. Creating equitable environments isn't just about policies. It's about intentional, everyday actions that remove barriers and give all employees a fair shot at success, very plainly. So my advice to leaders is to be clear and transparent. I look at this as a cheat code for leaders, being clear and transparent. I had a recent conversation with someone sharing about their experience with various leaders, and they shared when my leader is unclear or I'm given no sense of direction, then that makes me lose trust. And then I just do the bare minimum to get by. So
Mm,
being clear and transparent is essential. Additionally, I would say, be who you say you are, meaning your values should be reflected in your actions. Do what you say you're going to do and be crystal clear in your expectations. And then more importantly, take the time to explain your why. You'd be
mm.
surprised how these small actions can move mountains on a team.
What's your why?
My why has always been from the beginning. I tell this story, I'll give you an abbreviated version. When I set out in college, I was initially on the pre-med route, wanted to be a neurosurgeon. At the core of that was really just helping people. So that has
Hmm.
always been my why, through, college until where I'm at today. Leveraging, the skills, the knowledge that I've gained over the years through others, through experiences to pour back into others. So whether that's helping entry-level managers to be able to, have upward mobility with organizations, that's what's near and dear to me and really at the core of ReviewTailor as well.
Yeah, I love that. It is clarifying. I mean, we were just talking about it with Lexi B too, to get really clear about why am I doing this? It's not about the job title or the bank account. Like, those are supportive of the
That's
why.
right.
They're not the why themselves. If your why is to be of service to people, well, how can I be of service? I'm going to address this pain point. Oh, well, I'm starting a business. I can also, then my bank account goes up as well, but it's to be of service to a community that's important to you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Where do you think that comes from for you? So you wanted to fix people's brains before. Now you're helping break, equity and wealth gaps. So where does that come from going way back?
Yeah, to your last point, going way back, even before my arrival on Earth. So I'd probably say just upbringing. My grandmother, super
Mm,
innovative. She was a school teacher for many, many years. And so she had that attribute of just helping others. I remember witnessing her just in her home, having kids come over that didn't have a computer to sign up for, what is it called, the scholarships for entry into college. So helping them through that process.
Wow.
So I will definitely have to give her 100% of that credit.
What was your grandmother's name, or is?
Yeah, her name is Avis.
Avis. That's a
Avis.
grandma name.
Hey, I don't think they make that many Avises anymore. But yeah,
No,
it's Avis.
that's a really good grandma name. Yeah, mine was, I have some super grandma names too. They're both passed, unfortunately, but Ruby
That's
and
nice.
yeah, that's a nice one. And then Phyllis, which is very
Phyllis. Phyllis is a special name. All the Phyllises that I've ever met have been genuinely, nice people, very kind.
yeah.
So
Yeah, I guess
I-
you didn't meet my grandma. No, she was sweet. She was sweet. She was tough as nails though, you know what I mean? She had a very strong work ethic.
that's right. That's right. They all have that attribute about them. Tough as nails. When how to conduct yourselves around them, but
Yep.
also the sweetest people on earth. So
Yeah.
same with Avis.
Yeah. Oh, Avis. Do you how else do you connect with folks of in community? So you've built this company, you're interacting with people, you've also worked in HR. So what is your personal community bubble look like? How do you keep it alive and vibrant and keep filling your cup?
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that we learned quickly when transitioning into the startup world was that, community is super important. And if you
Mm,
think that you can build a business in isolation, then you will learn very quickly that that is not the case. And
yeah.
so I've been very fortunate to be connected to others who either have opened up their community to me, have
Mm,
recommended other communities. So, for example, as we talked about in the beginning, the startup community, I learned of them through someone else, and it's been an amazing network that I've
yeah.
been able to build other connections just through that one connection.
Yep.
I'm also part of the TechStars community, so we participate in the TechStars Accelerator program,
Nice.
and through that opened up many opportunities. And then locally in Atlanta, there's some networks that we're part of as well. So one that's called Goody Nation, which is very excellent with just helping you build that relationship in community. And
Mm,
so, it's been a lot of, you meet one person and that one person opens you up to maybe two or three more, which opens you up to two or three more. And before you know it, your network of one is now a network of 100. So that's really, been the journey, at least for me personally, with network building.
hmm How big is your team now?
Yeah, so we're a very small team. We have two co-founders, myself and other co-founder, and then we have our technical team. So we have three devs that work on the product. So looking
Yeah, I
forward
mean,
to being able to bring on additional team members.
yeah,
But in today's world, we're very conscious about one being very lean. And
yeah,
not bringing on additional members until we, kind of reach that point to where, what, we just have to have one additional
yeah.
or additional team members.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible too. You know firsthand, you're deep in the AI tech space that how much one team member can take on now compared to 5 years ago, even.
Right. You're
Yeah.
right.
Lean.
Absolutely. No, it helps to have, to your point, a lot of these new tools that are out
Yeah.
that, help us to save time to where maybe we would have required an additional team member before now, but leveraging these tools that, cut down the amount of time we spend with a lot of administrative tasks,
Yeah.
makes it so that we can function efficiently with the small team that we have.
Yeah. And get things up and running quickly and test them out. So there's like, you don't have to spend a year of R&D now. It's like, oh, we can actually do that in like 2 weeks. And oh, we need to pivot over this way now.
That's right. That's right. No, it's an amazing time that we're
Yeah.
we're living in. I will say
Yeah.
that.
So what's the best way for folks to reach out and connect with you if they want to talk to you more about what you're up to, and what's the best way to learn more about what you're working on?
Yeah, absolutely. So available for connections via LinkedIn. So it's my first and last name, Laneisha Roberts, on LinkedIn. Also, I think in the post-summit communication, there'll be some free tools that we shared with the Power to Fly team. So in that toolkit, you'll have more information specific to our free tool that I referenced earlier to be able to leverage that, as well as some free templates to help with framing those performance narratives. So between those free tools and contacting me on LinkedIn, I'm always open to have conversations and to help any way that I can.
Awesome. Is there anything else you want to make sure we touch on before we wrap up that I didn't ask you yet?
Yeah, one, just thank you and the Power to Fly team for putting on this amazing summit. As I mentioned, yesterday was fire. Today was even hotter than yesterday. So this is great that you put this together. You know,
Yeah.
for the folks who are on the call, whether you're in HR or not, the principles of transparency, feedback, and development are key to workforce advancement. So as we wrap up, I would encourage you to think about how you can contribute to bridging the gap in your own organizations,
Mm.
whether that's through better communication, setting clear expectations, or supporting employee growth. Um, and again, as always, feel free to reach out if you have any questions or want to dive deeper into today's topic.
Yeah. Was there one piece of advice that you got in your career at some point that maybe was surprising, but now has come back around? You're like, oh, now I see what they meant.
Yeah, great question. Great question. I had a leader that once told me, don't be afraid to manage up. And
Mm,
at first, this felt very risky, I'll be honest, because initially I thought, isn't it my boss's job to lead, not mine? But over time, I realized that most successful people actively shape the relationship with their leaders instead of
mm,
just reacting to it.
yeah.
So when I started managing up, it put me in control of my own growth. So instead of waiting for guidance, I started proactively communicating my goals, my progress, and what I needed to succeed. And then it also strengthened my relationship with leadership. I learned
Mm,
to anticipate what my leader needed and how to make their job easier, which made me more trusted and a valuable team member. So too often I would say employees feel like they have no control over their own career trajectory. And so we're all about making it easier for employees to own their growth by providing those real-time insights and transparency so that managing up becomes really second nature for them.
mm. I love that because it's also what you're speaking to about being, instead of being reactive to management, you're being proactive with your career. And that's a way for people to really get to know us. Because if I'm
Right.
always reacting to someone, I'm not showing my full spectrum of who I am.
Mhm. That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, it works both ways. And
Yeah.
I think that's a skill that we probably don't leverage enough. But it's definitely one that initially it took me by surprise. I was like, "Oh, I'll try this." And
Yeah.
it's something that I encourage everyone to do now that I encounter.
Yeah. Well, I love too that your initial pause around it is comes from a level of respect, though. Where it's like, oh, I don't want to be managing my manager, right? That's their job. But you reframed it in a way that's like becomes more of a collaboration than trying to take over someone else's role.
That's right. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, someone mentioned, I don't know if it was Lexi B or maybe the one before or after her about, closed mouths don't get fed. Forget who that was, but that also ties into that as well. Because sometimes your leader may be managing multiple competing priorities. And so it's super critical for us to be able to say, hey, you know, these are my needs, these are my requests,
Yeah.
and to practice that skill of managing up.
Yeah, it's so true. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic. I'm so glad I know you now. Thank you for showing up
Same
today.
here.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Heard great things about you, and now I get the opportunity to speak with you. Also, congrats to you on your new business.
Thank you very much. Yeah, as you know, it's a wild ride being a founder, isn't it?
That is super true.
Yeah.
Actually, understatement.
Yeah, totally. Well, I will be reaching out to you on LinkedIn and please come back. I'm so excited. I want to keep hearing about your progress and y'all's journey over there. So I can't wait for the next conversation we get to have.
Same here. Thanks again to you and the Partifly team. You know, those in front of the camera and even behind the camera. I know a lot of work was put into this event today and yesterday. So thank you to
Oh,
the whole
yeah.
team.
There's a huge team that makes all of this happen. I just get to show up to ask questions. I have the easy part of the job.
Awesome, awesome.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
thanks.
Have a great rest of your day.
You as well.
All right, take care.
All right.